What's up, everybody? This is CW from the GOATcast podcast, and we're back with another court awareness. And today we end our series for our division rankings. I'm going to do the Atlantic Division. We're back in the Eastern Conference, where the other two divisions, the Southeast and the Central Division, looked a little rough. The Eastern Conference is top heavy, very top heavy. So let's go to the final division, which has a little more parity than the other two, I believe. So this one will be a pretty good one. I will rank all five teams where I think they will end the season, and we'll see what happens. So at number five, obviously the Brooklyn Nets gave away the only real piece they had in Mikal Bridges. No need to dive into this team too much. They're a team on the rebuild. Cam Thomas will get a place to shine, and they'll be a bottom feeder team. They're just not good. I hate it for them, but such is basketball. So at number four, the Toronto Raptors. Young team could be fun to watch. You have Scotty Barnes, you have RJ Barrett. The team is probably not a playoff team, but they're a team that can win games, and they can beat some of these heavy hitters on nights where they might be slipping or they might just not be in it fully. They have a capable team. I like what they have as a foundation. They're not a team that's going to win tons of games, like I said, but they're a team that will be fun to watch. I believe they're got a young core. They got guys that can play, just not a full, well-rounded team like some of the teams that are above them. So that brings me to number three. And this is where it gets a little tough. We have some heavy hitters out here in the Atlantic Division. And at number three, I must say the Philadelphia 76ers. We know right now Paul George is dealing with a hyperextended knee, I believe it is. Joel Embiid is saying he's not going to play back-to-backs. They shut him down in preseason. We saw what happened last year. He didn't even make it 65 games when he came back for the playoffs. Was pretty much a shell of himself. He played okay, but nothing crazy like his MVP level. Played in the Olympics, had a rough start. He kind of got into a groove later on when it mattered, but he was just not the guy that won MVP in 2023. So if you don't have that, then it's just a recipe for disaster. Even Tyrese Maxey, who's got his contract now, he's the number two option for the team. He'll be great. It's just his two partners are iffy. Paul George has been iffy for the last couple of years. He had a pretty healthy year last year, but still anything can happen to him. He's up there in age, so you can't really rely on him. And then Joel Embiid, like I said, not playing back-to-backs. He's just not been healthy for the last two seasons. You just can't count on the guys that they will really need to get far in this division and in the Eastern Conference. I kind of see them as like last year's Milwaukee Bucks. On paper, they look like they'll be pretty good, but when it's time to shine and time to show, I don't think they will be that great. I think they'll make it into the playoffs. They might even eke into the second round, but I think that's their ceiling right now with the way their two stars are health-wise. And just, I don't know if the makeup of that team is championship or bust. I just don't. A lot of people think that, but I'm just not sold. I have to see it to believe it. So I have them at number three in the Atlantic Division. Number two is easy, the New York Knicks. Now, I'm not quite on board with the Cat trade. It's one of those trades just like last year with Dame Lillard. Looks good on paper, but you have to get it done on the court. So on paper, a lot of things look great, but when you have to actually execute, that's a whole different story. Cat's played with Tom Thibodeau before, so he knows his system. So I think he'll be prepared for that. The lights are much, much brighter in New York than they are in Minnesota. So he's got to get used to that. He's a guy that can shoot you into a game. He's a guy that can shoot you out of a game. Jalen Brunson did the heavy lifting last season. He'll have to do that again probably this season. They did bolster their hopes by re-signing OG Anunoby and then bringing in Mikal Bridges. They unfortunately lost Isaiah Hartenstein, but they have Mitchell Robinson. They have Precious Achiuwa. They'll be an okay team. They lost Dante DiVincenzo. I can never say it right. Sorry. But they lost him. and he packed a punch for them, especially late in the season and into the playoffs. He's the guy that was giving them 15 points, and he was a solid player for them, a tough player. Unfortunately, he goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves in that trade for Karl Anthony Towns. So I think they'll be a solid team. I'm not sure if they're championship level, but I think they're the second best team in the Atlantic Division and one of the better teams out east. But as much praise as I heaped on the East last year, saying they were the better conference, they did eventually win the championship. But looking at these teams and breaking them down for this season, I think the East is really, really not that great. And outside of this next team I'm going to talk about, I don't see any team that could potentially be an NBA champion out of the East other than the number one team in the Atlantic Division, and that's the Boston Celtics. They bring everybody back. That team is just stacked. I mean, there's nothing more you could say. We kind of gloss over it, but they dominated last season from the regular season to the playoffs. That was one of the more dominant runs that we've seen in a while. And we just kind of gloss over it because it's the Boston Celtics, because I don't know, we don't like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. I don't get it. They got a very young coach in Joe Mazzulla. I don't get it, but those guys are really, really good. Drew Holiday was a godsend to them. I'm sure they got a Christmas gift ready to mail to the Milwaukee Bucks for that. I think that team is primed to return to the finals, and I think they'll be the first team in a long time to defend that title and go back to back. So, yeah, that is my top five in the Atlantic Division. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section. And please check out the GoatCast podcast, where we go live every Tuesday, 7:30-ish. We try to be on time, Eastern Standard Time. So just come join us. We like to open it up for you guys to come in, comment, ask questions, what have you. So please join us for the live shows. And if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Only helps us. And we're trying to get to that 200 subscriber mark. So I thank you. And this was the Atlantic Division Breakdown. Check out all the others with my co-host Big Nige and join us this Tuesday. Thank you guys.